Hi there, it's Jane from Love Your Lens here. I hope you're all well and managing to survive this lockdown, and hopefully getting a little bit of time to practice your photography, do a bit of editing, etc. I want now to do the critique for the theme that was March, only ended last night. You can see I've got lots more time on my hands to be actually critiquing it now for you. This was a great theme. It obviously resonated a lot with you, got your imaginations going, got you being really creative. So many entries, really probably almost record breaking since we've started doing the challenge, and a really high standard as well. Now, the real challenge in this was to capture a sense of movement so that you really felt and experienced that movement in the image. It didn't just feel like a moment frozen in time. And on the screen at the moment, you can see a series of images. And I think the one on the left of the dolphins, even though there's some blur there, there's a real sense of movement there. Whereas in the picture of the dog at the right-hand side, he's more or less just frozen in mid-movement, isn't he? So there isn't other than the fact that his ears are flying out above his head and his paws are off the ground, there's not such a strong sense of movement as there is in the image on the left. So that's what I wanted you to try and achieve. So the image didn't feel static, it really felt as if you were photographing something in motion. You can see on the screen here now some of the images that I've chosen to talk about and picked out because they were of such a high standard. Now, don't be disappointed if your image isn't here. There's a couple more slides to come yet with collages on. Goes to show how many really good images there were that I found it really difficult to keep it down to just say a dozen this month. Now, shutter speed was absolutely key in this challenge to either clearly freeze the subject in motion or to suggest movement by intentionally blurring the image. So this really meant you having a command of that shutter speed. And also accurate focusing with your settings to track movement and be focused on the correct area that you want to be your focal point. And of course, as with every image that is going to be a strong image, composition must be really strong. The image should engage with the viewer, ideally provoke some kind of emotion, because without that you're going to be left a bit cold. And some images are really good at creating a mood or telling a story, and as we go through the pictures I will talk about the images that have done that and what works for me about the composition. So basically, if you're using really strong composition, you're guiding the eye effortlessly to the subject, and the viewer knows immediately what you're trying to say and how you want the viewer to feel as they look at that image. So here's our second collage, another set of really nice images. Now, if your image hasn't been selected, and obviously there are a lot that weren't because we did have so many submissions, but perhaps you should ask yourself a few questions. If you're being really honest with yourself, was your image sharp? Was it in focus if it should have been? Was it correctly exposed? And was it immediately obvious what you were trying to communicate? If the image was well composed, the subject would be very clear and there'd be nothing else distracting in the scene. If you get to the point where you can analyse your own images in this way, you'll make big strides forward, and it really is an important skill to develop to be able to look honestly at your images, work out what works and work out what doesn't work. Okay. Now this is Alan Hewitt's dog Chip, and Alan is particularly good at capturing Chip in motion, and you know, always sharp, always well edited, always well exposed, and you know, a real sense that Chip is in motion. And particularly I would say, Alan, in this image here, these ones that I'm putting the X on, I think there's a particular sense of motion generated by the water droplets here. I think similarly there's water and just the snow here as well. And I think this one down here with him in the snow leaping is probably my favourite of all your images. So well done on those, and keep them coming. Everybody smiles when they see Chip. We've got another image here by Alan, and very, very clear composition, nothing distracting in that frame, and really well captured, because that's going to be moving at some speed and presumably quite high up above Alan as well. So it takes quite a lot of skill to capture that. Now, this is probably an example, could have been an example of what I've said about something just feeling like it was frozen in motion, but not moving. But it's these jet trails along here that really give you that sense of the plane is moving. So really liked that shot, Alan. Thank you very much. What do you feel when you look at this shot? What's the initial reaction? And to me, it raised a smile. There's pure joy in that dog bounding like that. And the fact that he's up in the air, suggesting that sense of movement. And then Amanda Smith has done a great job with the composition here as well. I love the emptiness of the shot. It really suggests a sense of space. And that goes with the story. That is this dog being absolutely thrilled to bits with being let loose on this big empty beach. And you know, I think that's what really works about it for me. The color palette is great as well, and just the simplicity of it. You really got to ask yourself sometimes, why is something else in the frame? And you know, less is more, to draw your eye straight to the main subject, and our eye goes straight to that dog, and we feel that the emotion that Amanda felt when she looked at it. Now, the only thing I would say, Amanda, is I felt that this image was lacking a bit in resolution, and that's probably something to do with either it's a phone image, or as you uploaded it was reduced in quality, but other than that, really great image. A second shot by Amanda Smith. I really love the sense of movement in this one through shutter speed again, but purposeful blur. Now, it could have gone wrong, and what I mean by that, Amanda, is I think if you hadn't have got the girl's face and expression captured there, I think it wouldn't be telling the same story at all. But you've got such a feeling of connection between these two. The concentration in both of their eyes, the determination, the strength is what really makes this work. Doing it in black and white is fantastic, just makes it so simple and clear, and just great composition, lovely story, and really well done for achieving that. They really do keep coming fast and strong this month, don't they? This one is by Carol Bernstein, and this is what I've really loved to see this month, is everybody playing so creatively. So the previous shot by Amanda was good experimentation with shutter speeds, and then here we've got another sort of still life experimenting with water, and again, what really makes this work is the simplicity of it, the black and white palette. There's a nice diagonal line going on here as well, which works really well. Yeah, it's just a great feeling of movement, and just very, very nice to see that being done. The inclusion of the hands is great, actually, because it tells more of the story there. And a second submission by Carol Bernstein. I mean, you can see why I've had trouble keeping the numbers down this month, can't you? I mean, how could I not include the previous one or not include this one? So again, brilliant experimentation to play with the theme, real sense of movement again, all the bubbles in the water and everything. I don't even mind the fact that it's slightly blurred. I love the colour palette between the tan and the aqua colour of the water. You know, even the composition where he's not dead central is really nice as well. Perhaps a tiny bit of editing could make that just appear a tiny bit more contrasty and lifted, Carol, but really great to see. I opened up the monthly challenge to younger photographers this month, really because of the situation that we find ourselves in at the moment. But I think I'll keep it going forward, because there are some really great young photographers about, and going forward they can have their own separate critique. But for now, because this was the only one, I've included it amongst these. Really like this image on a number of different levels. I like the angle. The low angle is great, makes it feel quite dramatic. Don't really mind too much that it's cropped off a bit too close at the top up there. But what's also going on here are that there's some really strong triangles. So we've got a triangle here. We've got a triangle here. We've got another triangle going off up there. So they're always good in terms of directing our eye and making an image feel quite strong. So good job there, Chris Jr. Thank you. And then we have this one from Chris Key Senior, and there's a recurrent theme coming along here at the moment, isn't there? Simplicity, lots of negative space, and black and white to emphasize that simplicity, and some really strong lines in this. Probably could get away with this one for the diagonals theme as well, Chris. But you've got your sense of movement with the train, and your eye kind of stops at the gate and the train, and in some respects that could be bad. In a lot of images, we want our eye to travel through the frame, but in this instance, this gate and this line here stop your eye dead. Your eye doesn't go much further than that, and that's good, because actually the whole principle of this picture is stop, isn't it? Don't go any further than this. There's a train going past. So really nice image there, Chris. Thank you. Now, this image from Chris Talbot isn't the best quality. There's something odd going on. It looks a bit hazy or very slightly out of focus, but it really made me smile. I mean, what moves more slowly than a sloth or my teenagers? So I've included it from that point of view. I'd also say that, again, it's simplicity, lots of negative space, very clear what we're looking at. Could just edit that bit out there. There's a little bump there, isn't there, where that's interfering in the frame, and then do something with your sloth to perhaps up the contrast and dehaze it slightly. I don't know what editing software you use actually, Chris, so but I think that would help that image, but made me smile. And then another new member, Claire Mikowski. I really liked this image when it was posted. It had a kind of timeless feel to me. It could have been 70s. And the joy in the child's face, again, that complete sense of movement. There's nothing too clever about the composition here, but there doesn't have to be. The only thing I did say to Claire is that you could crop it out. If you take the Sainsbury's out, so crop it along here somewhere, and potentially, just give it a bit of a crop. And I also tried it in black and white for her, because again, just that sense of timelessness and classic sort of 70s feel. Lovely shot, well done. Then David Rumbelow, another new name, one of my one-to-one clients, and again, great to see people experimenting and trying different stuff. And water droplets are fascinating, aren't they? I've never actually tried it myself, so I love seeing it when other people have tried it here. I would say that your water droplet here, David, could do with being in focus, so just slightly faster shutter speed, and again this area here isn't quite sharp, but just keep going, keep playing around with this. The simplicity of the color palette is nice, and the other thing you could try is going a little bit higher up, so that you see the concentric circles as well, and they're actually included in part of the image. So yeah, keep doing that experimentation, David, and would love to see any future images. A lovely image from Emma Jones here, just pure, simple childhood fun. Again, could be quite timeless, and I like the composition in this one actually. You've got an interesting foreground, you've got a very clear subject, and then you've got some context in the background as well. Nothing clever, but in a way that's it's that's what I like about it, the simplicity of it. You see the subject straight away, and it's a really nice story as well of the joy of running along the beach. So thanks there, Emma. Julie, you were really on fire this month, weren't you? Some really strong images submitted. I've only picked 2 of them out, the 2 that I felt were the best. I really love the stream, the slow shutter speed to blur that water. That's where you're getting that sense of movement from. A lovely composition where your eye is following the stream down here, and also just the vivid kind of sort of verdant, lovely nature of the greens and the rich colours and the moss and everything around it. Just really striking, and a really nice image. So thank you for that, Julie. Julie again, isn't this great? So sharp on the birds' faces, such a great moment caught between them, fighting over some food, and you know, the sense of movement with the bird's wings blurred, but the faces and eyes and beaks so sharp. A great, clear, simple background. Not sure from the resolution I'm looking at here whether or not we've slightly overexposed highlights on that leaf there, but gosh, it doesn't matter, does it, Julie? It's a really, really lovely image. Well done. And just, you know, what a shame about the bird's head being so tight to the top of the frame there. But I would imagine that, you know, I think any of us would have been really pleased to have captured a shot of fast movement so clearly there. Another new member here, Nick Wallace, was on a Get Off Auto course a few weeks back, and he showed us some incredible pictures at the end taken with his phone, landscapes. Watch out for them. He has posted a few in the group so far, but his landscapes and his composition are really strong. So another waterfall picture. Now I have to say, I don't think personally this one is quite as strong as Julie's. We have got a nice, you know, kind of leading line coming down the waterfall, and we've got some nice colours, but somehow I think it's just a little bit messier than Julie's image, but good use of you know, blurring the water with a slow shutter speed, and keep those images coming, Nick. Really nice to see you taking part in the group. Right, another latecomer to the party, Ray. I don't mean latecomer to the group because he's been in here for years, but quite late submitting these images. And wow, I mean, there's 3, Ray. I have to say I've included 3 of yours because they're fantastic. Nick and I were both sitting watching telly, and we both went, wow, when we saw these. So this one's brilliant. Again, you know, the obvious sense of movement, the strong colours, the tight crop. It's great. I love it. And then this abstract of rain on a car windscreen or something, running down the window or being blown by the wind or whatever it is. But again, a real strong sense of movement and simplicity. So for those of you who are perhaps frustrated that their images aren't being submitted, I think slow down and simplify would be one of my biggest tips to you all. So really like abstract shots, Ray. I like the simplicity of the colour palette as well. Really does it for me. And the square format is good here as well. And I think actually all of your images were a square crop this time, which really makes your attention focus on the center of the image. There's nowhere for the eye to wander across to the sides over here. There's nowhere for it to go. So you end up being very firmly concentrated in the center. Ray, this was very close to being my favourite this month, but you were just pipped at the post, as you'll see in a moment. I absolutely love everything about this image. To capture a ladybird like that in motion, coming into land as it were, or flying away home. I mean, it feels to me like it's coming into land. But the colours and the composition, so the red of the ladybird against the turquoise of that, absolutely perfect colour match, and then the curves in the image as well. Beautiful. The textures, so many different textures in there as well, and then this wonderful shadow down here as well. So these were the elements that I really liked, and again that square format works so well. So have a play with shooting square, people. It really does change the way that you look at an image. In this shot from Sheena Hatton, I was really pleased to see, again, experimentation, people playing with shutter speed and learning, seeing what it does, and then having another go as well. So this one tells a nice story. It isn't just, you know, imagine the girl wasn't there, and this was just the marble coming out of the hole and shooting along. It wouldn't be the same, would it? But this tells the story of someone concentrating and playing, it just adds to it. So it's not quite sharp, I don't think, Sheena, on the post here, where you perhaps might want it to be. I think when you've got movement in an image there, it would be nice to see it sharp there. But I mean, I'm nitpicking really, but great image. Another great one by a relatively new member called Sean, Sean Butters. Sean is having lessons with me at the moment as well. Obviously all been a bit curtailed at the moment, but I love Sean's style. She's got a real individual style to her images. The way that she takes them, the way that she edits them, it plays all the way through, which is quite hard to achieve, but I know she's working really hard on that, because she wants to go professional and she's wanting to have a distinct style that people will book her for. This is fantastic. The sense of movement and joy and the simplicity of the story is lovely in this, and I love all the colours as well, and then this dynamic diagonal angle as well. So for me, there's not a lot to like. It feels very unposed, honest, real, and again, that's what I've told Sean, that I feel that her style is. It doesn't feel staged. It feels like she just walked in and that was what was going on, and I know that that's very important to her in what she's doing. Now, I don't know if anybody's twigged yet, but this slideshow's been going through on in alphabetical order by Christian names. And so this is the last image from Thomas Batson-Well, and completely coincidentally that it's the last one, it happens to be my favourite this month as well. I kept coming back to it. I absolutely fell in love with how it made me feel. It's so peaceful, it's kind of warming. There's such a beautiful mood in it, and then that sense of movement, because it's kind of it is soft and gentle, but the power in that water as well, and the fact that it almost doesn't look like water. It looks like water in certain areas like here, but this looks like dust, these look like sand dunes, and the colour is emphasised by that as well. So I'll just remove all those lines so you can appreciate it all without anything on it. It's beautiful, Thomas. You should get it framed. What works about it again, and it's this word simplicity again, and the simplicity in this case is the simplicity of colour palette. Is monochrome the right word? What I mean by that is it's all that golden colour. Monotone is probably what I mean, actually. There's no other colour in there interrupting it, isn't it? It's all tones of gold and sand, and absolutely stunning. I don't know where you were to capture that, what was causing that beautiful orange light, but it's absolutely cracking, Thomas, and I've really enjoyed looking at it, so thank you. That's it for this month. I hope you're all going to be as enthusiastic about the next month's theme of diagonal, in recognition of the fact that we're all captive at the moment, if you like. I'm opening it up so that you can include some archive shots, but don't let that stop you taking pictures. It's amazing what you can still do in your own home, or if you're lucky enough to be able to go out on dog walks and things like that. You know, you can still get some fresh shots in. So thank you very much. Take care, everybody, and I will be speaking to you again soon.